because most people don't know. We found out through rigorous testing and group testing and focus groups that people are like, well, I think it's this type of law, or I think it's this type of need that I have. And they oftentimes don't have it nailed down to what they actually need.
Are you going through life blind? This is Eyes Wide Open with Nick Thompson. On this podcast, we share knowledge and stories that build human connection while elevating stigmatized societal issues such as mental health, holistic wellness, culture, free speech, and more. All to ensure we show up in the world with our eyes wide open. Welcome to Eyes Wide Open. Our guest today is JJ Garofalo. JJ is the CEO and founder of Attorney Live, which is an on-demand Tele-Law service that provides affordable, on-demand legal guidance to regular people with a mission of ensuring that everyone gets legal advice and access whenever they need it. So thank you for coming on today. How are you doing?
Doing great. Enjoying this new fall weather that we're receiving all over the place.
Oh, yeah. It came out of nowhere, didn't it? Although it's like, what is it, 80 today? I think it's 82 today in Chicago.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
it was like 50 degrees here this morning, and it's like 68 now. Perfect.
Oh, yeah. This is my time of year. We don't get very long of fall, I feel like, anymore.
Yeah. In the Windy City.
Yeah, exactly. I know when I was a kid, it used to be like at least 2 months, but now it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if we had snow next week.
Yeah, I believe it.
So my question I want to ask people, like today, right now, what is top of mind for you? Like, what are you thinking about that's keeping you up at night?
You know, I feel like, Nick, there's like so much struggle in the country going on, right? Like so many people need a voice and they're struggling with lots of things that they keep internally. And so mental health, physical health has been top of mind for me, not only for myself, but for everybody else, and kind of raising awareness around that. It's just been a big struggle. You can see it throughout, whether it's in the media or on TV or anything. I don't know, it really bothers me, and I want to try to make an impact there.
That's actually a really good, I didn't think you were going in that direction when you started. I thought we were going to talk about election season, which is just everywhere, but hey, that impacts everyone's mental health too. But no, I agree with you. And, one thing I've noticed for myself as someone who, and I want to get into your, mental health experience too, but someone who has been battling depression since I was like 5 years old is when I start remembering having these feelings. Uh-huh. And it's like the seasonal piece is coming. And yesterday, I think, was our last day where the sun's going to be out past 6 p.m. And I'm waking up, at 6:30, and the sun's not out, and it's dark until like 7:30. And I'm just like, here we go. Yeah. And it's such a, you combine that with everything going on in the world and, the struggles in the economy and inflation and jobs. Like I know so many people that have lost their jobs recently. It's that time of year in corporate world. Yep. It's just no wonder everyone's struggling. Yeah. It's just awful.
Yeah. So it's interesting because of my background. I know a lot of the statistics on like depression and divorce and suicide, and it's all around the holidays. It's always around the Thanksgiving. It's around the New Year. It's around Christmas or Hanukkah, any kind of big events right at the end of the year. It's always just surrounded by that. And people start to get in that mindset of like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the year. What am I going to do? Or they have memories from growing up or family. My mom passed away unexpectedly in 2008, and Christmas was a big thing for her. And so whenever, I have 3 daughters, and whenever Christmas rolls around, I love it for them. And I love it for me and being around family. But there's always that deep stomach feeling for me that, it's different, even though it was so long ago.
But if you think of it in perspective, it's not that long ago over the lifespan of your life where you did have your mom and you weren't, so it is kind of like.
It's true.
Yeah. Now, do you feel that like impacts you significantly over the holiday times, or do you feel more like it's just kind of lingering, but you kind of go about it?
I feel like it impacts me a lot during Christmas that we celebrate, as well as Thanksgiving, because those were two big holidays growing up that we had lots of family and lots of friends, and like big meals and lots of activity and just a lot of love and fun around that. And
Mm,
it definitely impacts me still, for sure.
yeah, I can imagine. And then it's just, I feel that way too. It's like the whole, from the week of Thanksgiving until like the second week of January, I always feel like I'm in a haze of some sort,
Yeah.
going through the motions, not really, engaged, and then the reflecting on the year and the thinking about the next year, and the sort of like the like I have to be careful because my dad listens to this sometimes now, but I feel like my family really stresses me out sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's really like a lot of time there. Like everything is, it's great now because my nephew's there, but
Mhm.
otherwise it just sometimes can be just exhausting, the whole process of all of it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I think so. To back up as well, my parents got separated a year before my mom passed. So we went through that whole ordeal with separation and divorce. And in the state of Virginia,
Jeez.
it's a 12-month process to be legally divorced.
Jeez.
And then that happened all of a sudden. So it was like one thing after another. Um,
That's awful.
but like you were saying during the holidays, like it's tough. This is the first Thanksgiving that we're not going to have family over at our house. We're actually going to New York City and watching the Nutcracker with our three daughters.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I think I'll probably be in a better headspace because I'm away. I'm in a fun town, lots of energy there, beautiful things, people to see, activities to do. So it's a change up. And I think a lot of people don't
Yeah.
take the time to change up their environment. They're stuck in that same environment.
That's a really, really good point. And that goes to you, something I heard you say on your, I think it was was it Kiss FM that you were on?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Kiss. I thought so. And
Yeah.
then I was like, wait a minute, was it? You said there, like, one of the most important things to you is making sure that, like, on the weekends you take time with your family and stuff. So even doing that over the holidays and doing the change of pace is probably maybe a new routine or new um, tradition that you guys can learn
Yeah.
something from.
Yeah. I about 3 months ago, I kind of reset myself because just like a lot of people, you're in that daily like routine of, I work out in the morning, then I come home, make kids breakfast, and then I go get showered, I get ready for the office, I go into the office, I do my meetings, I do that, I go home, then it's kids activities, and it's just all revolving around that. And a
Yeah.
lot of, time I don't do a lot of self-care, like me
Yeah.
time. And so I've started to build that in.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the hardest things to do too. I get in these, I'm in, I call it, well, I call it the simulation. I call it Groundhog Day, pick your poison, right? Where it's like, even today, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Thinking about something, I'm like, I can't believe that was 2 weeks ago. Like, where have the days will just go by if you're not kind of actively participating in your life, one thing, and also doing the things to recharge yourself. So
Yeah.
I think it's good that you found. What are some of the ways we're off topic a little bit, but what are some of the ways that you do that self-care and find that time for you?
So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have a personal trainer from 6 to 7, and a couple of friends of mine join me as well. But I get up at 4:30 or 5 every day, so I can build
Wow.
more hours in my day. Yes, a lot
What
of
time
people
do you go to bed?
the same response. I used to go to bed at like 9, and now it's like 10:30,
Oh
11.
wow, okay. I'm not a
So
morning person. I'd love to stay up until 2 and then sleep till 10.
sounds
World's
nice.
not made for me. World's not made for me.
But I mean, so it'll be that morning time between 5 and 6 before I go work out, and then I try to do something. Why I stay up a little later now is because 9:30 once the kids are quiet and in bed, then I try to find my own time.
Mm,
And I have a very structured routine with running two different companies, and the one that I just founded a few years ago. I have to be super structured, right, to fill in the
yep.
day and fill in all the gaps. And it's morning, it's journaling / meditation, then it's working out, and then it's through the process of just
Uh-huh.
the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Structure for me is the same thing, whether it's, working full time, the foundation, the podcasting, all this stuff. If you don't have that structure, nothing will ever get done, and you'll just be drowning for some reason. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
good for you. So, well, thank you for sharing that. I didn't expect you to be so personal out of the gate anyway. So that was, I'm grateful for you being comfortable to share that. Because I think too, as you know, as men, two men having a conversation about our self-care routines isn't that common. So I appreciate you being willing to share that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's get to my second question, and then we'll talk. That'll lead us where we want to go today. But what did you want to be when you were a young kid growing up? How did that change, and how did that lead you to find or found Attorney Live, which is where you're at and focusing your time today?
Well, I actually wanted to be an actor, an entertainer, a musician. When I was growing up, I also wanted to be an FBI agent and an investigator.
Nice, that's cool.
So like a mix, like a musician to FBI. I don't know how I came there, but uh, in some ways, I sort of fulfilled that. I started a DJ business, so the entertaining side of that came out for me. It all through K through 12, I played the alto sax. I was a percussion player. I was in a drum line. I did jazz ensemble in high school. I was in musicals, had a couple lead roles there. So I kind of like did a little bit of that growing up. I mean, not into my 20s and 30s and 40s, but I got a taste of it. I'm not sure why I didn't stay down that path. My old teacher at First Colonial High School in Virginia Beach, Virginia, was the one who taught Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, no kidding.
He graduated from my high school in 85, 86, something like that. And so I always was like, her name was Nancy Curtis, actually, and she just passed as well. She was there for like 45 years.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, that was a piece of it. I still, I guess, do a little bit of that because, I manage, as I say, my kids, which is 70 people between two different companies. And outside of college, I went to James Madison University for my undergraduate degree in business. And I went into logistics, DHL, which competed with FedEx and UPS. And so that was a great experience, very, very good experience. And I stumbled in on the company that I had worked at for 18 years, which is called Legal Resources. It's a legal insurance company. And then that sort of led me, after 18 years of knowledge, to founding and starting Attorney Live, more of a technology-enabled solution, rather than just a voluntary benefit, business to business, which is what Legal Resources is.
Right, right. So when you decided you were going to found Attorney Live, which is where I think it's good to talk about, what was your process? Like, where did you identify there's a gap here that needs to be filled? And we'll start there.
Okay. Well, so a lot of people, and again, I pull from those 18 years in legal insurance industry and employee benefits. A lot of people they can't afford an attorney, right? The average attorney charges $320 an hour. So most people can't afford that. Accessibility is super, super hard. 66 million people every single year go unrepresented because of cost and accessibility. And so, being in this...
What happens to those people, if you don't mind me asking?
So you think like legal aid, which is free pro bono, they're overwhelmed. They have too many people to handle. They don't have enough staff. And what happens is they'll go to either court unrepresented and not have a fair chance of whatever their right may be, whether it's like a tenant landlord dispute or a divorce proceeding or civil matter or criminal matter, traffic court matter, DUI, any of those types of things. And they go unrepresented completely. So they'll go into court and try to figure it out themselves, which is near impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're setting those, or those people are setting themselves up to be, ill-equipped is I was going to say, like, to be kind of made fools of almost, because you can't understand the process without knowing and studying it and living it. And you're not, the law is the law. So your thoughts and feelings don't really matter when you get to that courtroom.
Right. Well, and like a lot of people, Attorney Live is more of a cause-based app, right? Like the cause is, hey, we need to provide vetted quality attorneys on demand via Tele-Law, phone or video consultations, and not only provide that consultation for a price that anyone can afford, but also then follow up with, hey, not only can you talk to the attorney and consult with them for up to an hour every single time you have a legal need, but then you get a significant discount on their hourly rate, which makes it more palatable for somebody
Right.
to find an attorney. And they can do it from the comfort of their own home, right? They don't have to travel into an office. They don't have to Google and try to pray that they find the right attorney. So it just makes it a very simple, easy to use application that really anyone could use.
Yeah, and I think what was so interesting the first time we got connected, obviously there's like some parallels with what I do with our organization, but what was so relatable to me is there's several times in my life where I've needed an attorney for labor purposes, for divorce, for I mean, a landlord, all the stuff you named. I feel like I've been in all of those situations. Someone to help, negotiate a severance package at work, like stuff like that, where, you don't even, and again, like you can read a contract, you can read a severance package or participant agreement, like I did to go on reality TV. But like, unless you like know, you don't know. Like,
You got to know what you're looking for.
yeah, exactly. And I think back to like, I had and I don't know if my NDA is passed on this either, but I had a severance agreement that I had several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I got an attorney, my view was like, I just want you to review this and make sure I'm not getting bamboozled, was
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
there was stuff in there that would have never crossed my mind
Yeah.
that this attorney looked at and was like non-compete, for example. Like they had giant companies in there that I couldn't go work for,
Yeah.
like Amazon. And it's like, that's a huge, how can you say I can't work for a big company like that? You know what I mean? So
Right.
stuff like that you just don't even know. And
Yeah.
so, but the other thing that I think is so cool about your app is like you have this like guided selling approach where you're actually asking the person a few questions to guide them in the right direction. A lot of times I don't know, do I need a labor attorney? Do I need a contracts attorney? Do I, what do I need? Because I don't actually know. And I think that's the case for a lot of people, and you don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Well, May of 20. So speaking to that, Nick, May of 22 is when we first rolled out our mobile design and the application. And it's exactly what we learned. Wow, we need to do more than just schedule consultation. Because when we first rolled out our first version, it was just scheduled consultation. So they just picked their legal matter and picked a day and time and then scheduled it. So right now, our newest mobile app that we just rolled out this past January of 24 has scheduled consultation and questions, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has ask a question, because most people don't know. We found out through rigorous testing and group testing and focus groups that people are like, well, I think it's this type of law, or I think it's this type of need that I have. And they oftentimes don't have it nailed down to what they actually need.
Yeah, it's been every experience I've had. The only one I knew for sure was that I needed a divorce attorney. That's
Right.
but even that, there's like subsets in it, and you're like, what is any of? I'm lucky I got a recommendation, but it's very tough. And I think for people who a lot of the people that can't afford it initially
Yeah.
are economically don't really have the time necessarily to do the research to even try
Exactly.
too. So
And how do they know? They can trust them. Like, where do they look? I mean, you can't just Google it. And there's these other companies out there that will be like, oh, we'll scan your document and we'll tell you things that are wrong. Well, no, where's the personalization of that? Like, you can't, or a do-it-yourself lease or will. Like, fill in the blank will, fill in the blank lease. Like,
sounds legit.
yeah, it's just again, I pull from those 18 years and those things just don't work.
What do you think is so stigma may not be the right word. I'm pulling that from how I'm thinking about it, but like there's so much ambiguity in law, which we've just kind of talked about. And you said you've done the research because initially you didn't think that piece of it maybe was as relevant as it would be. And so now you've built this user experience that's guiding, I say guided selling because that's what we call it in my job, but
Uh-huh.
you're kind of guiding them through this list of questions to point them in the right direction. Like, how do you help people or even message to people like we help remove those stigmas, we make it less cloudy, we help you where to start, because otherwise from the outside it could just be, oh, here's a marketplace for attorneys, great, I could also go get that from a Google search.
Right. Well, so there's a few ways to answer that, I guess. The first is how we recruit our attorneys. So we just don't let any attorney on the network. They're vetted highly by our internal care team. And so when an attorney gets on our network, they have to be approved. They have to have a certain amount of liability insurance. They have to have a certain amount of years they practiced law. They have to have their state bar license in good standing, i.e. they haven't had any issues with the state bar. So on that side, and there's a bunch of other questions too that pre-qualify them. And then we review every single one of those manually. We do not it's not an automated process to where they just get on. So not only does the customer get a great attorney experience, but then we looked at the consumers and we said, hey, like, what's the highest need with consumers? Like, what are they really looking for? Like, how can we help them understand what type of matter that they have in a kind of a diluted way? So
layman's terms, almost.
Layman's terms. So anybody at any level of education knows how to do it. And that's what we've rolled out this June. It's super simple. It's been helping thousands of people already. And we really want to be that Tele-Law household name for everyone, because right now it's only $4.99 to schedule a consultation with an attorney, $5. So,
wow,
a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably a little bit standard talk, like less than a cup of coffee, but it's true. It's $4.
No, it is. It is true. And when you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, 350, was it, did you say an hour on average or whatever?
320, yeah.
320, yeah. You look at that and you're just like, well, if we can't get this solved in an hour or maybe 15 minutes, that's not going to work for me. So I think it is important to highlight that that's a benefit of getting that, first, do you call it a consultation, like initial consultation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also know, certain stages of life, people deal with different things, right? When you're in your 20s, you're not typically buying a house, like you're renting. So landlord and tenant matters. When you're in your 30s, you may be getting married or having children or buying your first home. And so we market and communicate those messages to those target audiences and groups that need it the most during that stage of life.
Right.
And it's funny, Nick, because a lot of people, as you said too, not only do they not know what type of matter they have, but they also don't know that they could use an attorney for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people think like, oh, I get in trouble, I need an attorney. Well, no, like buying your first home, you're not in trouble, right? A lease agreement, you're not in trouble. Writing a will, you're not in trouble. So like there's a lot of things that we have to educate the consumers on, that there's daily life events that you can literally use an attorney for now because it's affordable and accessible.
Right. And how do you, I know you've got a new campaign you're doing right now. Like, how do you reach common folks with your company with that message? Because I think even initially when we first chatted, I was like, oh, it's a marketplace for attorneys. But now, like, learning that you're actually kind of democratizing legal services, I'll say, my words, not yours. You're democratizing it for people who maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to have it. Like, how do you reach those people?
So typically, so like a lot of other companies and organizations do, we have a pretty heavy campaign and plan and strategy on social media. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on LinkedIn. But then we also do Google search ads. So when people are searching and in need late at night, early in the morning, whenever it may be, that they have a resource and they can find us that way. We also do in-app store messaging, things like that. So if they're searching, I need an attorney on the App Store or Google Play,
Oh,
that we pop up as well. So we trying to spread the word as much as we can. We're in all 50 states, but we're focused in 7 specific states, and they're really the largest metropolitan states in the country. So you
okay.
got heavy populations there that we can help right away. And then, of course, we get others from all over the country as well.
Yeah, and you've really been blowing up. It sounds like, which is a good thing, I think, too. What was so? I'm going to take a step back, if you don't mind me asking. Like, what was your motivation for starting this? What was going through your mind of how you want to help people, support people on both the attorney side, but also the client side?
So I think if you asked a bunch of friends and or colleagues, they would say I'm a big helper and a problem solver. But I like to give back.
Mm,
And being in the legal industry for those 18 years, I thought, wow, I know so many. I know that, first of all, I'm an expert in this market. And second of all, I know all the struggles with over 250,000 people on the legal insurance company plan. I know their daily, legal matters, not their names, but I know what types of legal needs that
yeah.
they have and want, and the things that they deal with. And, I'll give you an example. One of the stories that resonate with me, um, one of our, one of our members was here in Virginia Beach Hospital, the mother and the father and the daughter, and the father unfortunately was going to pass, and they did not have a will. They didn't have a will. So they called and said, hey, we have, your plan. We need an attorney. Our attorney on a weekend came to the hospital, wrote the last will and testament on site. And it literally, I mean, it gave the family a little more peace of mind. Obviously, the passing of the father was tremendous and a
Awful.
huge piece, but they had that little sense of like, wow, we have somebody in our corner. And being that helper as I am, I want to try to help as many as I can.
Yeah.
And so that's just who I am. I probably do it to a fault because I take care of so many as much as I can. Sometimes I have to be like, oh yeah, I got to take care of myself too. you
Oh,
know?
totally. Well, it's funny because I'm similar in the way that I have this like urge inside me that I've had for so long. It's like I always say it's like my mantra of do the right thing. Like just do the right thing and everything else will happen. And sometimes, you're going to be wrong and it turns out it wasn't the right thing, but in the moment it made the most sense,
Yeah.
right? And so with that though comes this and I jokingly say this is how I ended up the team leader of school projects, because if someone won't stand up and do the right thing, and I will give everyone else every opportunity to possibly stand up and do the right thing, then I'll stand up and do it. And
Yeah.
so even with what I'm doing with the UCAN Foundation and helping reality cast members, which I know you know a little bit about, but like helping them get legal services when they
Yeah.
need it, whether it be for contract review or we have someone who got sued for $4 million into arbitration and had no idea what to do, and that side of
Yeah.
it. So it's like, hey, let's review your contract and make sure that you're not getting totally screwed, just mostly screwed, and then
Right.
like helping throughout that process to know your rights, and same with like making sure there's mental health support and all that stuff. And it became this thing where I'm like, I can't move on from what my experience was if I don't try and make this better for other people, if I don't try to help people when they need help. And I don't know where it comes from, but like, I think it just comes from this, like, for me, anyways, kind of like I grew up, I don't want to say a loner, but like I just took care of everything myself, right? Like if I had issues and if someone needed to be stood up for, like, all right, I guess I'll do it. If someone needed to be the group project leader, like I guess I'll
Right.
do it. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it is from this like this feeling of like, well, I have to do something to make things better. I have to help people. I have to, at some points, which isn't healthy, sacrifice my own wellness and happiness to try and help other people. So it's totally relatable. And where do you think, if you don't mind me asking, where do you think that comes from for you?
I think it comes from when my parents got separated and then my mom passed away. Um,
Mm,
she donated a lot of her time to volunteering. One of the big things locally here, so CASA is a national uh, nonprofit, court
mm-hmm.
appointed special advocates, and they have these chapters. And so the Virginia Beach CASA group, it's for abused, neglected children. So she was a volunteer there, and you go visit the kids and see how they're doing, and then you go in the court with the judge and the attorneys and give them your case files and notes. It's a very emotional time because the kids are having a lot of problems with their family and parents typically.
Right.
And so I think a lot of it comes from just seeing that as a young kid and even as a teenager, and just wanting to do something similar and give back. And I also support a program called Haiti 180. A local
Mm,
friend of mine here in town as well started a hospital in Haiti for the kids over there that barely have water, let alone clothes and everything else. And right right before COVID, we were planning to go over there, and then of course, like all other plans, got canceled.
yeah.
We couldn't go over there. So no, I don't know. It's just I kind of always been that person. I've also been that loud, outgoing, probably obnoxious person too. But like at the same time, I was still helping. I was just probably a little too animated and passionate about it all.
Yeah.
So
There's a humble, I've noticed that about myself. Like there is like a, you have to be humble about it, because
yeah,
otherwise it's like, who are you really doing this for? And I
yeah,
would find myself, so one of the really big wake up calls for me, and I grew up like lower middle class, like we struggled financially, loss of jobs for my family in manufacturing, all of that kind of stuff. We moved around a lot. Um, and so I kind of always had that like, now I had a marketing department, I work in software, I'm like really, I've been able to make a really successful, for the most part, life for myself. But I always kind of like hold on to like those feelings of, oh, it's spaghetti again, because that's all we can afford, a
yeah.
dollar for noodles, a dollars for sauce, and stuff like that. And then I remember I did some volunteer work at a company I worked at, and we built up this program with this organization called Youth Build. And it was basically their function there was to take, and I hate the term at risk, but that's usually how people know what I'm talking about, opportunity youth, at risk youth. And it would take them ages like 16 through 22, if they were falling out of the education system for whatever reason, help them get their GED, finish high school, and then get certified to do like construction jobs or IT jobs
Oh,
and
cool.
stuff like that. And working with them was like even more humbling, because at first I was like, oh, this is so cool, I get to build this for this company, this is going to be a great opportunity for me, blah 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 blah. And then there was this one girl, and I remember I was doing mock interviews, which is something we would go do with them when they would interview for local jobs. And
Yeah.
she was telling me like, I can't finish my certification, right? And I was like, oh, what's holding you, what's holding you back from that?
Right.
And she literally said to me, she's like, well, I need glasses, I don't have glasses, and I can't see the screen to finish my work.
Ah,
And it was just like, whoa, like, as hard as it was sometimes, like I never couldn't see,
right.
like you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
I never had to worry about that, except when I was being a jerk at 8, not wearing my glasses,
Right.
kind of thing. But
Right.
like that kind of thing, and it was just like, whoa, that is a total different
Wake
level.
up. A big
Yeah,
wake
and
up.
so it kind of like humbled me a little bit in how I think about a lot of the good that you do, and the way that we give back, because you don't need to boast about buying this girl glasses so she could finish school. It's just
Right.
something that you do because it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. And, giving is really, like you said, not only the humility side of it, but it just feels good, like to
Mhm.
help somebody, like whether it's something big or small, no matter what, even like walking down the street and you just say hi to somebody. Like
Mhm.
this country has gotten so fast paced, and I know other countries have as well, but like we're just in such a busy world that even just stopping and saying, "Hey, how are you? My name's JJ." They're like, "Huh?" Like, "Oh, hi, I'm Nick." Like
Yeah.
it's just, it's like commonplace. So like it's this big the bigger picture is not even just Attorney Live. It's like my mission is just to not only create something that's accessible for low to middle income earners, which is what Attorney Live is dedicated towards, but also like teaching companies and the C suite and stuff like how to treat people. I'm probably going to get dinged big time for saying that, depending on where this is viewed or seen. But like, we have so many employees that have come in and said, wow, like this is an incredible environment. Like, you guys actually care what we care about. And
Mm-hmm.
not only us, but like how our families are doing, like an extension. And so like there's a lot we got to do, Nick.
I know. I know. Well, I write about this on LinkedIn all the time because I've learned as a leader of people now for like 7 years and in marketing, I've learned like so much about leadership and empathy and applying it to the workplace and like realizing that humans aren't robots that complete a task list. And there's so much there. And I think that what I think happens when you get to the executive, now I'm going to get myself in trouble. When you get to the executive level, in a lot of cases, it's very easy to forget what it's like to do the work. And
Yeah.
that's not exclusive to manufacturing on the factory floor, or I'm in software, the people that write the blogs, the people that build the website. But like, you lose that piece of empathy that's like, oh, things take time. Like,
Yeah.
just because you say something, it isn't the snap of a finger, it's done. And then the other piece of it is like, you lose track of that these are human beings. And I saw this meme somewhere, probably Instagram, and it was like, if you can only give 60% that day and you give 60% that day to your job, you've given 100%. And
Yeah.
I think like that mindset is something that executives and leaders in general need to bring into the workplace, is that like, you don't know what your employees have going on in their
Yeah.
personal life and how it could be impacting their ability to execute at their job. So like, give them a little empathy, like listen to them, create an environment where they don't have to necessarily overshare, but it's okay to say like, you know what, this is not top of mind for me right now,
Yeah.
or this, I've got something going on and I need to, I can't concentrate today, or whatever that is, and just like
Yeah.
open those doors of communication. Because and a lot of companies fake it. I think a lot of them are like, we
Yeah.
are
Oh,
here
we
to
do
here
it.
for your,
Yeah. We
yeah,
have a great culture. Check it out. We have a great culture. No, we have a great culture. And they get in,
yeah,
they're like, where's the culture?
where's the culture?
Where's the empathy? Like you
Yeah.
said, one of I try to lead by being a servant leader, right? Servant leadership.
I like that.
And empathy is definitely in my daily vocabulary with especially all my department heads and directors. Because a lot of those people, and I've said in a few speeches that I do internally with the employees and the team members, and a lot of people are struggling, as you said, and no one knows about it. So give everyone a little empathy and grace. Like that's
Yeah,
the common theme around that. Like nobody,
love that.
some people share it right in the workplace. They're open book, but a lot just struggle with it internally and don't share it. And so
Yeah,
like companies don't only turn profits if they're like dictatorships and
I
demanding, and
know.
they do it if they're empathetic, to your point, and they're passionate and they listen more than they talk. Like
It's
the
so
big problem.
true. That is so true. I always say in marketing, and I didn't come up with this, but like, amazing things happen when you like listen to the customer. Amazing things happen when you listen to your employees. It happens when you listen to your partner. It happens when you listen to your friends, and you can really build like a genuine connection with people that way, as
Yeah.
opposed to the manager, employee, or whatever, subordinate, however you want to word it.
Yeah.
How do you, as a founder and a CEO, like, how do you maintain that sort of employee first mentality? Obviously, like, you're doing well, Attorney Live's very successful. It's always easier when things are successful. But when those moments come for you, what are some of the ways that you sort of keep that empathy top of mind for yourself when you maybe have to make some sort of tough decision as a CEO?
So right now there's 10 people at Attorney Live. Most of it is our software engineers, developers. We have overseas, I don't know if you can see my clocks, but in Brazil and
Mexico
Mexico.
and Brazil. Yeah.
And I have two marketing, our creative director and our marketing specialist in office here with me at our corporate office. And it has to be a daily ritual, meaning it's always not, hey, how's it going? Oh, hey, Allie, how are you doing today? How was your weekend? What did you do fun? Like dig more into it. And then you, like you said, you usually find out a lot more by asking them those questions and just letting them respond. And not only that, it builds trust because they're like, wow, this person actually like wants to hear me and see how I am, not just, hey, do you have that report, or do you have that marketing piece done, or do you have this, or do you have that? Are you coming to this meeting? Are you coming to that meeting? Like, it's just, so I try to always be mindful, and I set my mind up every morning before I come in. Like, today's a great day. No matter what happened yesterday, today's today, tomorrow's tomorrow. So focus on today and make sure that those people are happy at what they do and where they're at and who their head cheerleader is. I call myself the head cheerleader all the time.
That's good.
Yeah. So daily practice.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I find myself when the pressure gets there, it's like it's a little harder to remind myself. But at the end of the day, it is just like treating people like they're humans. And by the way, you hired them for a reason.
Right.
And that doesn't mean they're going to always do everything right, perfect, or the way you want it. But like, give them a chance to grow, give them a chance to learn and ask the right questions and get that human connection. Actually, that reminds me, one thing that I do, and I haven't done it at this job I'm at now, but have you heard of like Myers-Briggs or the 16
Yeah. Oh,
personalities
yeah.
test?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've done that with my teams where I have everyone run through that test and then put together like a slide of the things that they were surprised about, the things that were true, the things that were wrong. And then we would discuss like ways of working around that with people.
Yeah.
And it was always so good at like building sort of that connection to know a little bit about like who's an introvert, who's an extrovert, who handles conflict with direct communication versus, maybe you pat it a little bit and you sandwich it, or, like you learn these things. And then all of a sudden you're able to have like a much more aligned conversation because you're communicating with each other in the way that each other prefers to communicate and succeeds through communication. And it's just it's just like listening and learning about one another.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, Nick. We just got back from a leadership retreat last Wednesday, Thursday, and came back Friday. And Kate Ekman was our speaker that we flew in from California.
She told me, because I texted her about our podcast episode last week going live, and she was like, "Oh, I'm actually out with JJ right now." I was like, "Very cool, that's awesome."
So, and we did a strengths finder test too. So everybody took it before, and it characterized all your different strengths. Not that the lowest is your weakest, but where you focus more. So like mine was help, love, and creativity, which fits in sort of what we're talking about. And leadership was 8th. There's, I think, 22 or 23 different categories. And, some of the employees, they were like, well, this is weird. Why is this category so low? And I said, well, look, I'm obviously in leadership. However, help and creativity and love, that's how I lead. Helping, loving, and being creative with everyone. And so just a little off subject, but the Myers-Briggs, DISC assessment, strengths finders, those are great like tools to learn how people are wired.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, if you can, one thing as a leader I think is important for other folks to know too is you have to lead people by like the way they need to be led. And that's a hard thing too, because I'm very hands off, and I'm kind of like, let me support you, let me remove barriers for you, let me guide you when you need it, but don't let me force anything on you. Like, let's have a conversation. But what I find has been interesting is some people, and it's varying by culture a lot too, because I've worked with global teams, and a lot of times like people actually do want to just be told what to do, and that's how they work best. And then they kind of like get their growth and their their success from like completing tasks. And then some people you kind of got to like put in a sandbox and say play, and they'll come out with the right thing. And learning those types of things helps you become a leader of like differing people, as
Yeah.
opposed to just like you having the style of leadership for you and then everybody else has to
Yeah.
adapt to
Do the same.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody learns so different, right? Some people are visual learners. As you said, there's plenty of people that just like the tasks and or structure of like, here's my checklist. Got it. Now what's next? And some people like will talk about and collaborate around something and then say, okay, now I'm going to go off and do this and explore what I can do with this.
Yeah, I love that. So it sounds like you're building a very helpful internal organization and external facing organization. So what I want to ask you now, and we'll wrap up in a little bit, but where do you see Attorney Live going next in the short term, near term, and then far term? And what are your plans to not just grow the company, but expand your reach to your mission of bringing legal services to anybody when they need it?
So we have an extensive roadmap planned out over the next 12 months, but short term is we are launching some new tools and functions come January after the end of this year. Some of that has to do with AI, whether that's good or bad. People need things on demand even more so than just scheduling the phone or video.
Mm-hmm.
So our ask a question, we are researching and building out a proof of concept right now to have that. So it is on demand and it's trained by all of our legal expertise and knowledge.
That was
It's
going to
not
be my
just
question.
pulling
So is that like
randomly from like the
Chat GPT?
yeah, exactly. And it's just guidance. It's not legal advice, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, hey Nick, so like what are you dealing with? Oh, like my spouse was really angry at me and we've been fighting for years and I don't think this is going to work. And then it'll respond to that. And the idea is that it guides you towards, hey Nick, you need to schedule a consultation with an attorney for a divorce matter or child custody or whatever it may be.
Right.
So that's a big technology advancement for us that we'll have within the mobile app. We also we're also looking at working with some major influencers because we got to spread the word. Like people don't
Yeah.
know. The company that I was at for 18 years has been around for 33 and companies still don't understand what legal insurance is. And it's been in the US for 45 years. So like
What is legal insurance? I actually don't know when you were mentioning it.
well, so no, that's a great point. So like, so it's very similar to like health or dental insurance. And so so on the legal resources side, the other company, 33-year-old company, 18 years, and CEO of that company, we go into organizations that have 100 employees or more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a voluntary benefit, which means it's payroll deducted through their paycheck. It's a monthly fee. And there's a number of covered services, meaning that they don't have to pay attorney fees for those services.
Oh.
So like drawing a will or real estate closing, they don't pay any attorney fees for that at all.
But you pay a monthly premium.
Monthly premium, yep, through your payroll deduction. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, that's missing the mark because we don't sell direct consumer. We don't sell to individuals. Right. And so not only did I want to build Attorney Live because I wanted to spread it out among all 330 roughly million people, optional, right? Mm-hmm. But I also wanted to have quicker, easier access to get through that first step, right? Like, hey, I don't know where to go. This is my question I have. And so anyway, I'm getting off base here a little bit, but the next step is to work with those influencers to spread the word. We need more people to know about Attorney Live, how it can help them through their lives, how it can take some of the stress away from life, let the legal expertise handle that while you take care of yourself and your own life. We've got you. Our slogan is attorneys at your fingertips, any matter, anytime, anywhere. And so spread the word is our main point. In the next 6 months, so we'll roll out, we're our goal and target with our entire team that we talk about on a weekly basis is to how do we get to be known as the household name of Tele-Law? And not a lot of companies that you know of, you think Tele-Law.
I don't know any.
Exactly. Because there's a lot of companies out there that provide a legal service or a do-it-yourself document, fill in the blank will or lease agreement. And there's some that do a form of tele-law, but not like we do. And that's the only thing we want to focus on. We want to do it best. And so to do something best, you got to focus 100% on it. You can't split yourself up and do a
Right.
bunch of different things at an extremely high level. It's
And
just
that is where
tough.
so many software companies, by the way, in my experience, screw themselves is they try
Yep.
to boil the ocean, be everyone for everything, chase these random things that come through, and you got to find like your niche and be really, really good at it.
Yeah.
And you're in a position, it seems to me anyway, with Attorney Live, where you're not in a competitive market, and
Right.
you may have competitors, but you're leading this tele-law space and trailblazing it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, and blue oceans and red oceans it talks about. And the cliff notes are basically that blue oceans are industries, verticals, markets that are not overwhelmed with competitors, and red
Mm,
oceans are heavily populated by lots of competitors or similar types of things. It's like um, McDonald's, Burger King,
yeah.
Hardee's. Okay, burgers are covered. Five Guys, right? Like there's okay, got it. Chick-fil-A. Oh, chicken. Like okay, KFC, Chick-fil-A. So it's like those are like red oceans, and then blue
Mm.
oceans is exactly what you just said. Attorney Live falls in that blue ocean because we're really leading the charge in tele-law and legal tech, enabled solutions.
Yeah, which is outstanding. And you mentioned this, and I'm just curious. Do you? So when I think of like this market there's like other ones I think of for mental health, right? Where it's like, oh, now at
Yeah.
my company we have Hinge Health, which
Yep.
I don't know all the details of, but like, do you foresee yourself becoming like a service that employers can provide to their employees?
So we
Is that
just so
something you?
I'm
Okay.
perfect. Thank you, Nick, for asking that.
Okay.
We basically have four methods to offer our product and our mobile app too. So one is, of course, any consumer, any individual, anybody in America could download the app on Google Play or Apple Play. Apple Play or Apple Store or Google
Google
Play.
Play. Yeah.
That's what it is. So they could do that. We are, and you can go to our website, attorneylive.com right now under the businesses tabs. We do offer it to businesses of 100 employees or less. And that's an employer paid option. So the employer would pay for all their employees to have it. We have our
Mm.
pricing on there. It's super simple, easy, seamless. And then we're also talking to major insurance carriers and also infinity channels, meaning like auto policy, credit card companies to embed it in their services so we can get it in the hands of as many as we can so they can have access to this. And so
Mm.
there's various ways that you can have it. And so we're talking about doing it in a much larger way through businesses, through insurance companies, through, our direct consumer product so we can reach as many as possible.
Which is great. That's great. I feel like with this app, it's not a matter of, and that's why I've kind of asked a few questions about this. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of where do we find these people. And my philosophy that's been successful for me in marketing is you got to find like the right person at the right time in the right channel with the right message. And that's
Yeah.
like the unicorn you're seeking. And so just finding ways to get the value proposition of Attorney Live in front of people, it's like a no-brainer. It's
Yeah.
just getting it in front of the right people.
Yeah. Yeah, we did this great new video. We're pushing out 15 second, 30 second, 60 second, and the 60 seconds TV ready. It's Super Bowl ready. It's commercial ready. Big production company, got a house and actors, and it
Oh,
speaks
nice.
to exactly what you're talking about. It's on our socials. It's on our website. It's fantastic because it humanizes everything about what people deal with on a daily basis when they're late night searching in their beds and their phones and they're stressed and they're concerned to daily life events that they're dealing with and just navigating those waters without anything. And
Yeah.
that's what we provide all of that plus some with attorneys at your fingertips, the whole Attorney Live concept, like have an attorney in your pocket, right?
And with your kind of AI, it's almost, or with your future AI, it's almost like you get the guidance to the guidance, right? Like here's the steps I need to take if I'm, trying to achieve this outcome. Because it isn't always, you could waste a lot of time if you go into, a meeting with a lawyer and you haven't
Yeah.
done pre-work or don't
Yep.
understand kind of like what the process is, and then you can sort of automate that at the
Yep.
beginning and
Yep.
have people be more effective with it too.
Yeah. And we also have, so let's just say AI, let's fast forward to AI was already implemented in the ask a question section of the two options. We also have an attorney live care team internally that are paralegals. So they have legal expertise and background. And so they'll review cases too, if they need to, as well, on top of the AI. And then we'll do all that intake so we can really fit them with the best attorney and the best specialty that'll fit all of their needs.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that. It's something we've been working on for the past few months. It's pretty amazing because we obviously have a beta version internally, and it's going to be game changing for sure.
That's outstanding. So I forgot to tell you this at the beginning, but I end all of these with an ask me anything. So I'll give you a chance to ask me a question. But before we go to that, now you've got a few seconds to think about that. What if you had to give one message to both of your users, which I would say are attorneys that want to join Attorney Live? Do you call it a network or?
Yeah, attorney network.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Your attorney network. What's your message to them? Why should they join you? And then what's your message to end users who need the legal support?
Yeah, my message to the attorneys is simple. Attorneys are really good at lawyering, right? Be the lawyer. Do what you do best, what you work so hard in school and through all of the studying that you've done, even if you're 10 years into it. Don't be worried about all the advertising and the billboards that you do and Google, search ads and everything else. And we handle all of that. We do all the advertising. We generate clients specific to the legal matters that they want. So when they register, they pick a specific area of law or 10 of them. And we only send them qualified clients in that area of law. So they can build their practice up in certain areas of law, whatever they choose. It's also like Uber for attorneys because the attorney on their own time can pick up a client if they want to after they review the case notes, or they can decline it and it'll still go, it still goes through our network and somebody else one of the other attorneys will get it. And so free advertising, grow their practice in specific areas of law. We also have 4 different partners right now. So when they're on our network, they get discounts to major companies like Clio. And Clio is one of the largest platforms for attorneys for back-end office out there. They get discounts for that. Smith AI, which is virtual legal assistance. USI Insurance Services we've partnered with. These are little plugins, I guess, but they're great companies. So like the attorneys need liability insurance. And guess what? Now we get them a group discount rate that they couldn't get by themselves. And really, for the attorneys out there, we've built this for solo practitioners, meaning single attorney law firms, to about 3 to 8 attorneys within your firm. Because you guys are the attorneys that need a solution like this to build your practice and build your business and clientele up. So that's the attorney side. The consumer side is, I'm 44. All right, there it is. It's out. Be 45 in March. I've had a lot.
40s are the new 30s.
30s are the new. Hey, I'm gonna run with that.
And have you seen like Gen Z's mad because they say people in their 30s and 40s still look good? Yeah, it's so funny. There's a whole social media trend about that. But anyway, I digress.
No, that's great. No, hey, I feel young and strong, so I'm ready to take on whatever. The consumer side, though, I've been through so many life experiences, and so for the consumer, I've dedicated all the different challenges that I've had and all of the different peaks that I've had to climb in creating a very user-friendly experience for the consumer, because I know, and being in this industry for 18 years, that everyone has legal matters when they least expect it. Whether it's unexpected or expected, like you need it. And so where do you go? They can come to us for $5 and talk to an attorney locally in their area about whatever they want. And it's up to 1 hour every single request. Yes,
And
it's
it's curated for them. It's not,
exactly curated.
no.
It's based on thousands and thousands of requests that we've had over the last 2.5 years that we did the first mobile app rollout and the second one. And we've specifically built the UI and the UX for every consumer on the market because we know our numbers after 18 years of my experience. So that's a long answer. Sorry, but it's both sides.
No. That's what I wanted. I think it's good to, kind of like reach out to people and extend that. Like, here's what you're going to get. Here's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And I think, to sum up my thoughts on this, I think that what I've really learned in my lawyer experiences, which have been, like I said, labor, negotiating severance, negotiating divorce settlements, like all sorts of stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
And to me, like, this is what was missing. Like, I got lucky and got a good recommendation from my divorce attorney, but like, I wouldn't even know where to start identifying the right one for me. You know what I mean? And so, that, and then you've got, all this entertainment stuff that I've shared a little bit with you, and most of my listeners probably know. And, I wouldn't know where to go. And I think that, what you're doing with Attorney Live is you're making everything accessible for the layman, for the common person, and removing some of that stigma and making it easy for people to get representation or legal services, we'll just say, in a world where it's very hard to find, identify, and afford. So,
well, and we live in a litigious world, right? Everybody wants to sue. I mean, and there's two more stats just to share with the audience. Like 70% of Americans have one or more legal matters every single year. 70%.
Jesus.
And 55% of people get divorced. So 1 in 2 people. So like just those two things alone, there's a need. Besides all of the other, plethora of different types of legal life events people have on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis. So that's what we're there for. We're there because we care, and we want to try to help people through challenges they have in life or happy times that they have in life.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great, and I really appreciate what you're doing, and maybe there's going to be an opportunity for us to work together at some point, which would be great too. But before we head out, I like to give everyone a chance to ask me a question or two if you have any that you want to throw my way.
Yes. My first one is, what's on the horizon for you? What's next for Nick?
Oh, that's a good one. Usually I don't get those kinds of questions. What's on the horizon for me? Interestingly enough, I just relaunched a new season of this podcast. So I think you're going to be through episode 3 or 4 of the new season, which is exciting. I took a little break because I was getting really burnt out, and I did some reevaluating of the things in my life that I distract myself with, and what's important and what's holding me back from those things that are important. And I really realized, like, I don't really make money on this podcast. I don't do it for that. I don't take the time to like find advertisers and stuff like that. I just do it because I think it helps people, and it fulfills my curiosity. Right. And this mission of this podcast has evolved a little bit to be, well, what's top of mind for me right now? Because if I'm thinking about it, which is the stem of my question at the top, if I'm thinking about it, like, someone else has to be thinking about it. So if it's an opportunity for me to kind of like explore my curiosity with experts like yourself, or experts that are, doing specific things that are important to me at that moment. And so that means it's important to somebody else. So I realize, like, it isn't about the time it takes. It isn't about, because it does take a lot of time. It's more about how fulfilling it is for me to explore my curiosity, but also the feeling of my curiosity helping other people. And so that's kind of like, I'm kind of like rethinking a little bit of how and why I'm doing certain things. So sticking with the podcast, it was touch and go for a while. I enjoyed my 6 weeks away from it, but I missed it at the same time, which was super important. And I actually owe a little bit of that to Kate, actually, ironically, because she asked me to come on her podcast, and talking to her, I was kind of like, you know what, the reason she was doing Rawish were very similar to the reasons I was doing this. And it kind of helped me clarify that, which I thought was great. And the world will talk to you, and the universe will tell you what you're supposed to do if you listen to it.
Yeah.
So that was a example there. I'm
Congratulations, by
also,
the way, on the new
I'm sorry.
season. Congratulations on the new
Oh,
season.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's fun. And then the other thing is, I'm really focused heavily on organizing what I'm doing with the foundation to really get like almost like a manifesto together of like, here are the actual tangible things that we're doing, because we do so many things, but it's almost like a startup where your
Yeah.
head's spinning. You know this feeling, obviously, and until it's similar to you, or like we have to know our niche and we have to be the absolute best at it. Like we're kind of coming to, oh, this is the value we bring. These are the things that are non-negotiable. These are the hills I'm willing to die on to change this reality TV industry. And getting really kind of like hyper focused on what I want to see change
Yeah.
from my experience and talking to so many cast members. And then lastly, I have been very focused this summer and now into the fall on my physical health. So at the beginning of the year, I started boxing classes. I started with once a week, and now I'm going 3 times a week.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm strength training. I've changed up my diet. I'm in probably physically the best I've ever felt. I've got a hip injury I've had for a few years, and I'm actually doing stem cell therapy on in a few weeks, which is super exciting. That stemmed from the podcast as well, by the way. And
Nice.
so, I'm just really kind of like doing, as you said earlier, the physical part of taking care of myself by eating healthier, lifting more weights, building strength and endurance with learning how to box. And I'm really excited to sort of keep doing that and making that such a focus and priority, because that would usually be one of the first things to go.
Right. It's so easy to like let go of that.
Yeah.
But then once you get back into it, it's funny. I had just to share, I had about a 6 to 8 month period where I kind of just was in a lull, and I stopped working out and was like feeling depressed and down. And man, I got back into it 5 days a week now: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, strength training, Tuesday, Thursday, cardio.
Love it.
And not only that, it provides a lot more you feel better. So then you have mental clarity to do what you're doing and I'm doing much better, right? At a higher level.
There's a guy I follow, and I actually really want to get him on my podcast, but he's got like millions of followers, and I have a little imposter syndrome. But he posted this thing last week that really resonated with me, and it was taking those walks. I'm paraphrasing now. Taking that walk, taking that first step to exercise. Like, if you don't take that first step, you're not going to build the habit. You're not going to get these feelings that you and I are talking about of like kind of getting your clear head. And I get totally, when I leave boxing class, I usually try to do like a 5-ish class on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And once I leave there, I'm almost like ready for round 2. Like, what am I going to go do? Whether it's a podcast, it's going to be editing, it's going to be foundation work, like whatever that is, because you're taking the time, focusing, and it does help you, and just doing it. You just do it. And one last thing on that, sorry. One thing that helped me sort of stay focused was on those days when I didn't want to go to the gym. This was like a year, maybe a little longer now. Those days I didn't want to go to the gym or would skip. And during COVID, it got all screwed up for me. I had it very much down to a science before COVID. But I started going anyway, even if it was like the worst workout ever. So I kept it as part of my habits.
Yeah, that's great, because you're in there then.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter what. That's what I used to tell friends, like, hey, you got up today and you're out here. It doesn't matter how hard you're grinding it in the gym or yoga class or Pilates, you're here. Yeah. Like, that's the first step.
That's exactly it. I think that's great. Well, great. This was so much fun. And I really appreciate you taking the time, and I appreciate what you do as well. I think it's, you're scratching the surface on a very unmet need in our society here. So thank you for that. And where can people find you and Attorney Live? And those links will all be in the show notes, but I'll give you a chance to share it.
Yeah, attorneylive.com. You can check out our website. We have a great video on the homepage that we call the Feel Good video that really relates to everyone.
It's a great video.
And also, of course, the App Store and Google Play. You can download the app at any time on there as well.
Awesome. And those links and to the Instagram, LinkedIn,
and TikTok,
Facebook, TikTok, all of it, apps, it'll all be in the show notes. So make sure you guys check that out.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Eyes Wide Open. If you enjoy the show, the best way to support us is by sharing or dropping a review. For more information and content, check out engagewithnick.com or find me on Instagram at nthompson513. Don't go through life blind. Do the work so you can show up in the world with your eyes wide open.